Trump fires at least 12 internal government watchdogs, reports. Washington. President Donald Trump sacked at least a dozen internal government watchdogs late on Friday, January 24. U.S. media reported the latest shakeup of the Republicans' second term after less than a week back in office. Independent inspectors general of at least 12 federal agencies were notified of their immediate dismissals via emails from the White House personnel director. The Washington Post reported, citing unnamed people familiar with the actions. Inspectors general have an oversight role to detect and deter fraud, waste and abuse by government employees. They are responsible for investigating violations of laws, regulations and ethical standards by employees, and conducting audits of contracts, finances and staff performance. Among the federal agencies affected by the ousters were the Departments of Defense, State, Interior and Energy, as well as the Environmental Protection Agency and Social Security Administration. The Post said, "It's a widespread massacre," said one of the fired inspectors general. According to the Post, whoever Trump puts in now will be viewed as loyalists. And that undermines the entire system. Most of those fired were appointed by Trump during his first term. The newspaper added. The New York Times, citing 3 unnamed people with knowledge of the dismissals, said 17 inspectors general were fired. And one source said the Justice Department's watchdog was not affected. Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts called the firings a purge in the middle of the night. Inspectors general are charged with rooting out government waste, fraud, abuse, and preventing misconduct, she said in a post on social media platform X. President Trump is dismantling checks on his power and paving the way for widespread corruption. On Tuesday, his first full day in power, Trump announced plans to weed out around 1,000 opponents from the U.S. government. The 78-year-old Republican began his second term with a flurry of executive actions aimed at overhauling government policies on immigration, citizenship, gender, diversity and climate, some of which are being challenged in the courts. Source: AFP, GR. Trump threatens to scrap emergency agency as he visits disaster-hit North Carolina and California. Swannanoa, North Carolina. U.S. President Donald Trump said on Friday, January 24, that he plans to sign an executive order to overhaul or eliminate the main federal agency that responds to natural disasters during a visit to storm-hit areas of North Carolina. Trump, on his first trip since reclaiming the presidency on Monday, accused FEMA of bungling emergency relief efforts in North Carolina, which was devastated by flooding from Hurricane Helene in September. He said his executive order would begin the process of fundamentally overhauling or eliminating the agency. FEMA has turned out to be a disaster, he said during a tour of a neighborhood destroyed by Helene where trees were downed and homes had boarded up windows. I think we recommend that FEMA go away. FEMA brings in emergency personnel, supplies and equipment to help areas begin to recover from natural disasters. And funding for the agency has soared in recent years as extreme weather events increase the demand for its services. The agency, which has 10 regional offices and employs more than 20,000 people across the country, was run for the last 4 years by Democratic President Joe Biden's administration. During a briefing about recovery efforts, the Republican Trump promised to speedily help North Carolina get the help you need to rebuild. He said he would prefer that states be given federal money to handle disasters themselves rather than rely on FEMA to do the job. FEMA was a target of Project 2025, a conservative blueprint for Trump's second term prepared by the president's allies that the president distanced himself from during the election. The plan called for dismantling DHS and relocating FEMA to the Department of Interior or the Department of Transportation. In addition, it suggested changing the formula that the agency uses to determine when federal disaster assistance is warranted, shifting the costs of preventing and responding to disasters to states. Democrats voiced support for FEMA. Democratic U.S. Representative Deborah Ross of North Carolina, in an X post on Friday, said FEMA has been a crucial partner. I appreciate President Trump's concern about Western NC, but eliminating FEMA would be a disaster for our state, she said. Trump complained that Biden did not do enough to help Western North Carolina recover from the hurricane. an accusation the Biden administration rejected as misinformation. Trump also sharply criticized Democratic officials' response to wildfires in Los Angeles that have caused widespread destruction this month. His Republican colleagues in Congress have threatened to withhold disaster aid for the region. Trump was due to visit Los Angeles later in the day while 3 massive blazes still threaten that region. Newsom to greet Trump in Los Angeles. In an interview with Fox News on Wednesday, Trump threatened to withhold aid to California and repeated a false claim that the state's governor, Gavin Newsom, and other officials have refused to provide water from the northern part of the state to fight the fires. "I don't think we should give California anything until they let the water flow down," Trump said. He has falsely claimed that Newsom, a Democrat, prioritized the preservation of endangered fish over public safety. Newsom has said there is no connection between the fish and the fire. The governor told reporters on Thursday that he planned to be on hand at Los Angeles International Airport to greet Trump. Trump has accused Newsom and Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass, who was out of the country when the fires broke out, of gross incompetence, pointing to what he called a lack of preparation and ineffective or harmful water management policies. Water shortages caused some hydrants to run dry in affluent Pacific Palisades, hindering the early response. When the fires broke out, one of the reservoirs that could have supplied more water to the area was empty for a year. Officials have promised an investigation into why it was dry. Mayor Bass and fire officials have said the hydrants were not designed to deal with such a massive disaster, and stressed the unprecedented nature of the fires. Trump has focused some of his criticism on California's complicated policies for sharing the plentiful water supply found in the northern part of the state with the parched south. The diversion results in the discharge of some water into the ocean, something Trump has depicted as a callous waste. Newsom has dismissed those attacks as groundless, and experts have said that the diversions, in part designed to protect agricultural interests, have played little or no part in the difficulties encountered in fighting the fires. Since the fires broke out on January 7, they have killed 28 people and damaged or destroyed nearly 16,000 structures. Authority